Hey everybody, welcome to another video on my channel. In this particular one, we're going to look at using Dreamflow to generate custom widgets that we can use within inside FlutterFlow itself. Now, of course, there's some little nuances along the way, and that's what this video is here to solve. But what we're going to do is on the right-hand side here, you can see I've kind of got this selected items drop down here. I can kind of select some items here. I can hit done. I can sort of remove them. I can go in and I can choose more. I can do searches like that. It's a great little widget as an example that you can generate something out of the box in Dreamflow. You can test it in Dreamflow. You can kind of iterate and make changes to it in Dreamflow until you're absolutely happy. And then you can shift it back into FlutterFlow. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this particular process. Hopefully you find it useful. Please do stick around and let's get cracking. Okay, so the first thing in Dreamflow then is create a brand new project. Let's just hit that. Now, the good thing about creating a new project is that you can just simply have the bare essentials within inside Dreamflow, and then you can then start creating your custom widgets from that particular point. So I'm just going to call this custom widget, hit create project. Dreamflow is going to go away, do its thing, and then we'll come back, and that should get us in a good position for us to start creating our custom widget. Okay, so we're in Dreamflow then. So the whole idea of this then is that we're going to vibe code our custom widget in Dreamflow. We'll be able to preview it in Dreamflow, make some tweaks to it, and then we can eventually move that over to FlutterFlow. Now, with a basic Dreamflow project, you've kind of got some basic kind of widgets that's kind of created. We're going to remove out what we don't want here. Let's get rid of the floating action button. Let's delete that widget there. Let's get rid of this text rows here, or literally the text widgets from our column. And then we've got this kind of very basic project. Now, what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to just paste in a little prompt that I created just a little while ago. And it says here, create a custom widget which represents a customizable drop-down which supports multi-select. I want the custom widget to support passing in a list of strings. The selected strings should be then passed back to the parent. So this is a very, very common scenario that you'd have in FlutterFlow, where you kind of want this custom widget to kind of have its independent behavior, and then we can then utilize the values that are then passed back from that custom widget into the parent page of our FlutterFlow page itself. So let's now hit enter here. Let's let Dreamflow now go away and vibe code something up for us. I've got no idea what it's going to produce here. It's probably going to be quite basic, and then of course we can then customize it therefore further, just to kind of get it to where we want it to get to from a look and feel perspective. So let's let Dreamflow do this, and then we'll come right back and see what it's produced. Okay then, so this is all very nice. Then I did do one extra prompt just off of the recording here, just to style it up a little bit more to how I wanted to. So here is my original kind of prompt here, and it produced all the code and everything like that. And then I went on and if I just select this option here to go to my next thread, I said style my drop down with rounded borders, remove the material design look from the drop down, and this is what it's produced, which is very nice. It's exactly what I need. So if I just drop this down here, I've now got an option here to choose banana, cherry and grape, and just say done, and then I've kind of got these options then with inside my drop down. That's really quite nice. You can see here that the parent page is kind of picking up the values that I've kind of got selected, and I can kind of go in here and carry on selecting more, which is really nice here. I can also go here and I can say clear, and it will clear my choices. That's a really, really good first kind of attack at creating this kind of multi-select kind of drop down. So let's just say, for example, that I like everything that I've got here. This is exactly what I'm looking for. I now need to look at now taking this into FlutterFlow. So if I look at the code that's being produced here, and again, this is not a coding tutorial at all. I want to do everything I possibly can here with just focusing more on the actual kind of just taking what's being produced here and pushing it into FlutterFlow. But we need to have a little look at the code, because chances are that the code that gets generated here, we can't just lift it and take it straight into FlutterFlow. We are going to have to make some slight little tweaks to the code that's generated, which is fine. I'll walk you through that in just a second. But if we look here at the widget that's been created, we've got this multi-select drop down. Now this is the widget. This is our custom widget in this particular code here, which is kind of what we want. So we want to take all of this out of here and push that into a FlutterFlow. But we're going to need to make some adjustments here. We're going to set the properties up of these with inside a FlutterFlow itself. We're going to need to handle the icon data slightly differently, and we're going to have to change this here, this on-change event. But again, we can get that all corrected with inside something like ChatGPT or something like that, where you don't need to write any code. We'll let the errors kind of present themselves, and then we'll go and get those corrected. Then hopefully we can just copy and paste that straight back into FlutterFlow without writing any sort of code. So without further ado, I think we're happy there. I'm going to take this very shortly and move this into FlutterFlow. But the first thing that we're going to do first in FlutterFlow is create the custom widget itself. We're going to create that first, and then we'll start adding these kind of properties to it, and then we'll come back to Dreamflow, we'll grab hold of this code, and then we'll push all of that within inside FlutterFlow itself. So let's now head over to FlutterFlow and create the start of our custom widget. Okay, so here we are then in FlutterFlow on the left-hand side. I've kept Dreamflow on the right-hand side because that's going to be my reference to the properties that I need to create for my custom widget. This is a very basic kind of template project that I use quite often in my academy. So I'm going to use that as my starting point. And we're going to kind of just be able to put the custom widget here very, very shortly, so we can kind of sort of fire this up in the simulator and we can see kind of what it looks like. So here we go then. Let's move over to the left-hand side. We've got this a custom widget option. So I'm just going to choose here, and I'm going to go to a widget, and I'm going to choose now a name. Now I'm going to keep my name exactly the same. So I'm going to copy this multi-select kind of drop down like that. Now I'm going to create the boilerplate code first. Let's just select that and say add. And you can see now that if I just kind of maybe just stretch this out a little bit, you'll get an idea what's going on here. This looks very, very similar now to the code that is being produced with Dreamflow on the left-hand side. Let me just see if I can grab the side of this here. Let's move this back in. And you can see that just here, multi-select drop down. And of course in here, don't worry about the squigglies or anything like that. This, the underlines is here. That's just FlutterFlow having its moment of not catching up with itself. So what we're going to now do is we're now going to create all of these additional ones. Now we can't just kind of copy this code here and paste it in here. We do need to define these parameters manually. So here I'm going to add the parameter, and let's just do the first one here. Let's go with the list of items. So with here, I'm just going to say items, and I'm going to go to type. It's going to be a string, which is what we got, but this is a list, and it's not nullable, this one here. You can see I've got no question mark here, so we can take off the nullable. We don't need that. Let's now add in our next parameter, and the next one is going to be initial selected, like that. That's going to be nullable, and it's going to be a list. You can see here that I've kind of got that question mark in there. And of course, we'll create the page state variables very shortly that's going to be able to be passed into this, this custom widget. Let's just collapse those here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly create all of these other ones here. And this one is our label text here. And of course, they will represent kind of values that's presented within inside the UI itself. So that is nullable. I'm just going to add another one in here. Let's get the hint text in here. Let's add that in here. That's a string that's nullable. Let's get the helper text. So let's just quickly go through here. Put those in, and we've got icon data. That's going to be slightly different. And this is where it's all going to go kind of slightly wrong we of course we don't have anything called icon data, but we're going to say prefix icon, and this is going to be an icon itself. So we're going to be able to pass an icon in that's going to be to the left-hand side of the drop down, so we can customize that. Now of course that is nullable as well, and then we've got bool, we've got enabled here. So of course this means that we can enable or disable our drop down, which is of course is something that we're going to probably would like to do. Let's just move down to the boolean there, and that is not nullable. That's going to be false therefore by default. And then we've got the bottom string title. Let's add the parameter in here, put that one in here as well, and of course that is nullable as well. So they are all done for just a moment. So let's just click on here. Let's now add that code in here. You can now start to see we're starting to get this very, very similar look here to what we got here on the right hand side. So we've missed a few out because we just need to make some changes here. We've kind of got this on change. So of course, as the user is selecting from that drop down list, then of course we're going to want to invoke a callback back to our parent page. We're going to want to then maintain that state within inside the parent page. We're going to want to track the items that are being selected. You kind of saw that on the preview because you kind of saw the strings being built up as I select each of those items. So we're going to want to pass those back to the parent page. So we now need to create this. Now in FlutterFlow, we can do that quite simply by adding a parameter on here. We are going to call this onChange. Let me just double click and copy that. Let's move here, say onChange, and here this is going to be then the action, just select that. You can see here that this is not nullable, so we can take that off. So we're always going to want to pass that in, and then that is good enough. Now we need to add in the action parameter because of course we need to, this callback is going to be invoked, but we're going to want to pass these values back. So let's add the action parameter in here as well. So this one, we're just going to put in items here. It's going to be called items. And we're gonna now just select this now as a list of strings. Let me just find that, strings, and we are going to pass back a list of strings, and that's not nullable. And you can see that here, we're passing the list of strings back to this onChanged kind of event. So that's all that we need to do, and then we can again just go back up here, select this option and add that, and we've pretty well much got what we need. Now you're not going to kind of see this as a direct representation here of this, but don't worry too much about this. It's pretty similar, so we don't need to worry too much about that. So that is the first stage. You can see here we've got no other code in here. That's the very bare essentials. If I save that widget, and if I can then compile that widget, that will kick along, and hopefully that will compile up for us. In fact, it's very, very quick inside FlutterFlow. It's kind of done its thing. So the next part, we're now going to go into Dreamflow. We're going to take all of these all of this content here. We're going to paste it in here, and we should then see the errors sort of present themselves when we try to compile. So let's go and do that now. Okay then, so I've just collapsed the settings here because I want to focus here on the actual code and moving that across. Now, depending on how long you've been using FlutterFlow for, you will probably know that using custom widgets, there's certain values that you can't change here, or I wouldn't recommend that you change because, of course, the configuration of inside FlutterFlow that is mapping to the code will probably get out of sync, so you don't want to make too many changes here. This particular bit can remain exactly the same. In fact, this particular class here can remain exactly the same because all we're going to do now is we're going to copy the equivalent here, because you can see here that this particular class is exactly the same as this here, so we can overwrite all of this here. So I'm going to take this particular class here like that. Let's just collapse that down. In fact, collapse all of these down. I'm going to take all of these like that, because we've got lots of classes within inside this particular file here. If I just minimize that, I'm just going to take all of the code that's generated here all the way up to row number 20 here. Let's just copy that, and I'm just going to replace everything that is here. Just paste that in. Oh, don't want to do that. What's it done? It's the good old editor. Let me just do it this way. There we go. Copy that, and then let's just replace that here. There we go. All the code is in there. Now what's going to happen if I save this now, we are going to get a compilation error. In fact, you can start to see some of these errors that are now starting to appear. We've got kind of this little red here, so this is kind of a bit of a mishandling with the way that our icon is working. Again, I don't want to be a coding tutorial here, but we're going to kind of just take this into ChatGPT and get it to create it for us. But we'll do that very, very shortly. So we've got that error. If I hit this little option here, you'll see straight away now that I've got that kind of error detected in multi-select drop-down. And we'll have to use FlutterFlow here to help us out. It's kind of indicating here with this little squigglies here that is actually a problem. So what I can now do is I can now copy the whole of this particular class here, and what we're basically doing is we're saying, look, we're going to pass in a widget, which is the prefix icon, and we don't want it to use this. It's kind of we're not passing in an actual icon itself here. So of course this is never going to be valid. We just want it to kind of correct that. Don't change anything at the top, just change that here. So let's just move over to ChatGPT here. Let's just bring this up here. And we're going to say, please do not change the parameters, but correct the handling of the icon for the prefix icon, like that. And then all I'm going to do is just going to paste the whole of the class in here. Let's just let ChatGPT go and sort all of that out for us, because again, I don't want us to feel like we're being coders in this particular tutorial. We just want it to be kind of very simple. So let it go away and do its thing. Okay, so here we go. It's done its thing. Look, it's gave us the direct replacement of code that we need. So I'm just going to copy this particular bit here. I can obviously click the copy up there, and I can just replace what we got in here. So I'm just going to select that here. I'm just going to paste that straight over the top like that. Now, if I just save that, now fingers crossed, let's just move ChatGPT out of the way here. Let's just compile that here, and we've got the green tick. So we are looking like we're in a good position here to kind of even fire this custom widget up straight away. So let's now move back over then to the widget tree here. Let's go to our column. Let's add in our multi-select drop down. Now let's just set the width here to be kind of infinity here, stretch across. Let's just give this a height of 200 for now. That should be good enough. And that is as simple as it comes. Now, of course, this particular multi-select drop down, we've obviously created all the parameters. We're going to pass them in. But what we're going to need to do is we're going to have to create some data to pass into our custom widget. So with our home page, I'm going to move up there now. I'm going to go to here, our state management. And you can see here that I've already created in this particular project a list of items here. So here is a list of items. All I've done is I've just put hello world 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's a list itself. So I'm just trying to save a little bit of time in the tutorial by automatically having them created. And then I've got the initial selected items, and of course I can pass in a list of ones that are set up front. But this is going to be kind of be populated with the values that also get passed back from the callback from the actual widget itself. So that's good. So this has got nothing in. This is just literally just saying it's a list of strings. That's all that we need to do. So just create those, and then we are golden. We can now go into this drop down, and we can now start binding these. So I'll say the items. I'm just going to go into then our page state, and here are the items like that. Hit confirm. Our initial selected ones, just select that, go to page state, and our initial selected items like that. And here we can then start setting up some of the kind of the UI sort of text-based values here, like label text or hint text. And I'm just going to say in here, you know, select items like that. Please select some items like that. Helper text, again, don't worry about that, it's optional. I can set my icon now, so let's just look for one called check here. Let's get a list of checks like that. There we go. Don't worry about the icon size. Now we know this is going to be enabled. Our bottom sheet title, I'm assuming this, please select items like that. And then here's our on change. So all we're going to simply do here is we're going to open this, we're going to go to our callback, we're going to add an action in, and all we're going to do is we're going to set the state variable of the initial selected items. So I'm going to go to state here, and I'm going to say update page state, add field. I'm going to say initial selected items. I'm going to say set value, and the value that I'm going to set there is the callback parameter. So remember that we're passing back the list of sort of string values here that get selected. These are the ones that's coming back. So just select that, hit confirm, and that now means that I've now got access to that within inside the page itself, not within inside the widget, which is great. So just hit close, and of course I could then sort of push those out to the UI that's just down here, which is all good. So I think we're actually good enough to kind of run this up now. So I'm just going to kind of move this out of the way here. Let's just bring the simulator in here. Let's just make this a little bit bigger here like that. Let's now test this. So let's fire up the app. Not got no errors or anything like that. So I'm kind of hoping that our widget will get kind of displayed within inside the middle of our application. So I'm going to let that do that, and then we'll come back and we'll see what we got. Okay, so app's all fired up. This is looking good. I'll just select that. And there we go. It's respected even my theme as well, which is pretty smart. I just hit maybe hello world 2 like that, hit done. And I can see them there selected here. I can kind of delete one of those there, bring that up here. I can then select another one like that. That is looking really, really good. Can I clear? Yes, I can. Yeah, a little bit of work that might be needed on this particular sort of clear. Maybe just needs to just have a little trash can there or something like that. That is looking pretty good. If I hit my little No Code Academy icon down here, let's see what it looks like here. So yeah, looking pretty good. Okay, we've got no sort of dividers or anything like that. That's no problem. We can obviously correct that within the design of itself. We maybe take this code back into Dreamflow, make those customizations, and then come back and paste that code back into sort of FlutterFlow itself. So we can also do that. Just obviously got to be careful that we don't lose some of the changes that we've made as well. So you just need to make sure you keep track of that. What I've also got up here is a little search option as well. So does this work? So let's just type in here maybe number 3 like that. There we go. So we can filter on the items that we've got selected. That is all pretty smart. So there we go. I think that's kind of a really good example here of how you can use kind of Dreamflow to create sort of custom widgets for FlutterFlow. Certainly if you are looking to create something a lot more custom within inside FlutterFlow itself, because of course the widgets that you have available within inside FlutterFlow can be limited. You might just want to do something out of the ordinary. So of course you can use Dreamflow to do that. And the great thing about Dreamflow as well is you can kind of prototype. Okay, we kind of sort of created this very basic kind of component. You can keep iterating and keep prototyping until you get to kind of what you pretty well much want for your FlutterFlow project. And then you can, as you can see, how simple it is to kind of bring it over to FlutterFlow itself. So there we go. So hopefully you found this tutorial useful. Of course, please do like this video. I really do appreciate your likes if you like my content, because by liking the video, it then beats the kind of the algorithm and kind of gets this kind of content more out to the wider audience as well. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I do notice that a lot of people watch my content but don't actually become a subscriber. So your subscription to the channel is much, much appreciated. And of course, if you are not a member of the Digital Pros No Code Academy, please do check the link in the description there, because that's where I hang out and spend a lot of my time. And of course, a community there as well. Lots of sample apps and sort of written articles are there as well. And of course, if you get stuck on these type of little problems, then the community is there to support, including myself. So yeah. So until the next video, thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you soon.